Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. We have today with us Michael Robinson, who's the administrator of Worksource for Clallam County, but also Jefferson and Kitsap counties, and Brandino Gibson, who is the supervisor for Worksource in our area. And they, as you all probably know, Worksource works with the unemployed and underemployed and business owners, trying to match folks that are looking for work with businesses that have employee needs. So I'm really happy to have them. Thank you very much. We've been hearing from so many business owners about the inability to hire people right now, where they weren't getting people even to apply for the positions that they have open. And so I'm really happy to have them here today. That's what they do day in and day out, working with folks in our communities. And so I will let Michael and Brandino take it away so that they can share with us what they're seeing from their perspective as they work with businesses and employees looking for work. Thanks so much for joining us, you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, Colleen. Good morning, everyone. And just for the record, Brandino and I did not, we did not plan matches here. But so I'll go ahead and share my screen here.
Yep.
All right, we should be seeing it. And so I have my coffee and I hope you do too. And as Colleen said, I'm Mike Robinson and Brandino is joining me. We're prepared to talk about the job openings that we see on Worksource WA and other avenues. Talk about the county unemployment rate, and then just some of the solutions and services that we provide for Clallam County. So job openings, as late as yesterday evening, we're showing just over 2,000, so 2,200 openings just on worksourcewa.com. Those are a combination of jobs that are posted directly by business employers, but it also does what it's called a scrape, where it gathers legitimate business that is found on the National Labor Exchange. And so those positions get posted in there as well. And that makes up the bulk of the job positions that we see. Kind of a new thing over the last year and a half, 2 years, is social media and its ability to, I would say sometimes it's counterproductive, but it just really depends on the perspective of the employer. Facebook groups, that's a huge one, because the ease of which, saying, hey, I have an opening, and reaching to a market. One of the problems with that is, there's no counting of it, so we have no idea how those positions are, whether they're being filled, and what the rate of return for the employer of business is. It's definitely small business that does a lot of it, and I get it. It's easier to do than to set up a Worksource WA account and post your positions and do some resume mining. But that is one of the things that we see. But there are quite a few postings within Facebook. There, just within Clallam County, I'm thinking there was, last check, 7 or 8 groups that, they're really kind of there as an organic networking group, and businesses attach and post their positions. You get people who see positions of companies and they post it up there. So you see a lot of work going on in there. And then as I stated, usually small business does not post on Worksource Law. The irony is it's really there for them though. So specifically with WIOA law, which that's kind of the big blanket that covers our the work that we do. The business service is really designed to support small to medium businesses, but we can help large ones as well. Corporate ones use it, and so you get a good mix, and it really speaks to the job seekers. So as far as openings, yeah, we definitely are hearing the message. The 2,200, that's probably maybe 70%, I would say, of what the actual positions that are open. Again, you know, the positions that we don't know about, if they're on just simply company websites, we don't really pull that data unless it's posted somewhere that it can get scraped in. Talk a little bit. This is what the labor market has shown for the last few months as far as what we have to work with. So our labor force is, as of March, and we'll get new data for unemployment and labor force data sometime in June. But you know, we're somewhere around 28,000. That's, you know, people that are able to work, and then the current employed is around you know, just almost 26,000. So we got about 2,000 folks out there that could be in the labor force, and you could see the slight changes over the last couple months, which is encouraging. We hope to see a trend there on those initial claims. Those are first time UI claims. So that's what's kind of impacting those rates right there. And again, so the data that we use, it's a combination. We get our own data from Employment Security Department, but we recognize that is not the end all. We also focus on Bureau of Labor Statistics data, and those numbers are pretty close between the two sources. So you know, we're hanging around 7 to 7.4, and let's see. And I just, for some perspective, this time last year, we were, where were we? We were around 9 to 10. So you know, that's a very healthy shift, but nowhere is where we want to be, obviously, and a lot of different drivers that contribute to these factors, which that'll be kind of the discussion. It'll definitely be great to hear from you, the local businesses, to hear, you know, just hear your perspective, and we'll be able to take that back to our teams and see how we can apply some problem solving. You know, like we've got this pool of 2,000 folks between basically Squim to Forks that are in that, you know, that pool of able to work, and how do we get them to move in back to the labor force? I know that there's a lot of opinions on what, you know, the current unemployment and the federal unemployment and is doing, but there are some other factors that are contributing to that. I'll go ahead and hand off to Brandino and let him talk about the unemployment, and then we'll talk about some of the things that we're doing right now.
Great, and I just saw your question come up there, Colleen. I think at the bottom of that chart it said 6.1 is the state rate at this time. I don't have the national at this point. I don't know if Mike has that there. You can maybe
6.4 is the national.
Okay, there you go. So I wanted to kind of put this up because there we go. So I pulled some numbers over the last few years just of where we're sitting from local in our unemployment claims. And if we, and kind of the two to really look at is April of 2019, we had 756 total claims going from Clallam County. And currently at this point, we have 1,197. So there really at this point, there's only about 450 people above where we were in 2019, which is with our population is a decent percentage. But obviously, if you look at last year at 2020, we were at over 8,000 claims, and that's kind of right at the beginning portion of the pandemic when everybody was really throwing their name in the hat and getting claims. And then at the bottom we see at the end of the year, so we were just over 2,000. So we've had about a little over 1,000 people that have come off of unemployment since the beginning of the year within those first 4 months. And those are people that are actually going back to work. So kind of one of the factors, again, looking at this is there's not a large amount of people that are staying on unemployment right now that in comparison to what we had, say, 2 years ago in a better economy, a better situation. As Mike said, a couple of some factors looking at this. It's easy for us to blame the additional unemployment that's out there that people are getting. And is that the case? Yes, there are those that are that are staying, not applying for work because they're collecting unemployment. If you do kind of an average, with minimum wage being at $13.69 and minimum unemployment is $235 a week plus the additional $300. So that puts them at the additional $300 puts them in at $535 per week, and at minimum wage is about $540 per week. So can I stay at home? Sure, but there's a lot of jobs out there and a lot of employers that are pushing $20 an hour. Now you're at full-time job at $800 a week. Some of the factors we're looking at as well, and we talked about this. Dr. Luke Robbins brought this up, kind of at our last EDC meeting as well. And these are things that we're hearing from the customers that we're talking to as we do our reemployment orientation meetings with them. First of all, we got a lot of parents. Schools are not fully open, so we have parents that are going, I would love to go to work. I have to stay home with my kid. They're only going to school 2 days a week, or I'm still not comfortable even letting my kid go back to school yet. So until we get schools fully open and I feel it's safe, I can't go back to work. Then we also have with some of the jobs that we have, a lot of them, and I don't know if we have anybody from the hospital here, from a recruitment standpoint, what's the qualification level of some of the positions that we have that are that can fill some of these positions. So if we have minimal qualified people, we can look at and go back. When we were doing some hiring, when McKinley was first opening, and we did hiring events for McKinley, we helped fill a lot of jobs, but there were a lot that went unfilled. And I know Pete was doing a lot of recruitment and bringing people in from out of state because of the qualification need. And then when we bring people in from out of state, then we run into our housing issue, which rentals are few and far between, if any, and even houses to buy, and housing prices, housing rental costs are continuing to go up. So these are a lot of additional factors that kind of go into the fact that we have people that are they're not going to work, or finding the difficulty of filling some of those positions. And I'm not able to see kind of some of the chat that's going on in there as I'm going along, but it's the minimum unemployment $235 for the state for a full-time. No, that is basically, that's the minimum unemployment. It used to be 185 was the minimum amount of so if you're on unemployment, 185 a week was the minimum amount that someone get, and then the rest of it's based on your income. So minimum wage people are, yes, I think the answer in that question are at 235, or if you're one of the self-employed that fit into that category during that time frame, 235 is what they were fitting into as well. So, and I don't remember offhand, we have one of the higher unemployment rates in the country. I think Massachusetts is the highest, and we're second in the country. So, those that have a decent income are, get, and I can't remember what that is off, but they're not particularly the people that are staying off of. It is, more of the lower income that are finding it difficult to, if I'm making kind of the same amount, but they're also the ones that have kids at home and struggling to be able to find a reason to go to work. But I will say that during our reemployment orientations, we're also having a high percentage of those when we do our initial appointment that we don't end up scheduling a follow-up appointment because they either have a return to work date that's coming up or are returning to work, have already returned to work. So people are going to work. It's just finding those that are out there. Now, we did kind of backing up on some questions. Colleen did ask about, we do have Worksource WAS where we pulled our information with this, that can be a little difficult to navigate to get started. As many of you know, Patrice, who you all worked with, which was our business services rep, retired in March, and we're working on, the slow process. We're in that hiring hood and have to find someone to fill her too. So we have positions to fill also. And, to this point, right now I can kind of help with that. I've got a couple of other staff that can do that. We have Hilda Rodriguez, who will bring up his name later as well. And he's our business services rep over in Kitsap. Although very busy with, kind of helping cover both counties, he can kind of help with that piece as well. So if you want to, shift them my direction, and I can help, navigate through that. But I wanted to talk just a little bit about that piece as well. When we're talking about Worksource WAS, one of the advantage portions of being able to set up an account with that, once you're in there, you can do a job match search, and we can help assist with how to do that. But go in and look for the top resumes within the field that you're looking at that match the keywords and the work that you're trying to fill, and see who's available out there, and do a keyword search and do a job match, and then reach out to those individuals that meet that. And again, that's something that either we can help with, or if you have an account, it's fairly simple to do within the system. One of the strong advantage points of the system that we was built in collaboration with Monster is that piece there, and it breaks it down to top resume. You can pull the top 10, what percentage it compares to. So those are some factors that can be used within the system, and again, that we can help work with. So that kind of extends out from that unemployment chart that I had there, but trying to answer a few of the questions as we go along through the chat here.
Yeah, and I see Colleen's question right at the beginning, so that's why I brought up. Are you seeing Worksource WAS?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the employer page. If you don't have an account, this is the way to start. And if you do, and you know somebody who is having some hiring challenges, this is a great place to start, because you can simply hit connect a local representative right there. And once you select that county, you fill in your information, that'll go straight to me, and I'll shoot it straight to Brandino, Hildo, and Chris, and we will have our team start reaching out to assist those businesses. This is a great starting point if you have questions, although at the end of our presentation, I have all our contact information. And Colleen, yes, I'll share the presentation with you as well.
Great, thanks.
So, yeah, so I thought I'd shift, since we're talking about where we were and where we are. This is a really good representation visually. On the left-hand side, you'll see our system performance dashboard. This is the job seeker perspective. These are customers that are either using Worksource WA and they're helping themselves, or they were coming into the centers when we're open in 2020, comparative to 2021, where you'll see staff assisted services. Those are services that are done virtually. And that means that our staff have provided at least a single service. But what I can tell you is when we work with someone directly outside of the reemployment process, the reemployment process in itself requires at least 2 contacts minimum. So that's twice a month that someone's working with our staff. But the staff assisted, these are really related to somebody calls us and says, hey, I need help with my resume, or I need help with training resources.
Hey, Mike, this
Yes.
is really small, and I'm trying to understand what it's telling us. Can you, the bar on the right-hand side of your PDF? Yeah, can you? Okay, cool, thanks. See if we can. So what are the 2 differences between the left and the right? I'm not understanding what that.
So the left is 2020.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so just, I was here I was explaining the self-served customer and the customer that we see coming into the center and staff providing those services. And then we've got new customers, returning customers, and then we've got job seekers with applications. Those are that means that a job seeker applied on Worksource WA. So when you post your jobs there, they hit apply. So that's the amount of this time last year. You can also see some of what those services were. Support services, training services. Those are generally provided by the same staff. Individualized is those are our more intensive services. Information only is very generalized, and basic service, that's something that just about every job seeker receives that comes through our door. The cohorts here, these are just some of the demographics that are counted. And and then as you can see, these are some of the programs that are in there. So adult, that is one of our training programs, as well as the dislocated worker and the youth. So those are very specific programs that a customer was either getting supportive services, maybe they need help getting work boots and transportation assistance for the first couple weeks until they start their job. Or it could be someone that's going into a training program. They could be co-enrolled with at the college with worker retraining and getting a lot of resources. So, and then you'll notice this, the trade, we had 10 registered. Those are folks that their work was impacted by foreign trade or COVID pandemic was starting up at this time. So again, this is 2020. We're looking at the total seekers was 3,300 for that quarter. And keep in mind, this is in a good economy compared to here we are now. It's around half. We've seen a 50% reduction comparatively across the board. And one thing that we're happy to see, you'll notice these are two training, actually all three, and the youth is actually up, but the youth, that our youth providers OESD 114, but ESD staff oversee the adult dislocated training program. I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to see an increase in the next quarter. I know enrollments have gone up, so we'll be looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But this gives a good idea of the customer, the job seeker. These are people who come to Worksource and say, I need help with something. And that could be as simple as, hey, you know, I really liked being a bartender. I've done it all my life, but I'm kind of thinking I need to do something different. Or could be that construction worker who maybe they got injured on the job and they realize they need to have a career change. And then we're providing services. I mean, you could just really paint a scenario of many different types of workers and unemployed and their journey. And we're able to help all of them. Although now the next slide will discuss the business services. So the employer count, that's straightforward. This, oops, and I think I got my slides backwards. I did. So let me go over here. So from this time last year, we had 238 employers using Worksource WA in that quarter, and their job orders were around 1,200. So it's not that far off, right? But what you will notice is employers receiving staff-assisted service, 64 this time last year to 160. And what I again, just like with the job seeker and the services that they receive, that's not a one and done service. Same goes with the employers. So, you know, that 160, you could really, the reality, you could multiply that by 3 to 4 because our staff are doing things like mining resumes, helping with your job post, referring customers to the job orders. Those are just, that's kind of what we mean when we talk about staff assisted services. Could also be information also. ESD has the a lot of the employer incentives that we can connect you with, work opportunity tax credit, potential bonding are just a couple. Shared work. Shared work would be, I would encourage everybody to register with ESD for shared work right now during pandemic. We have seen an increase, but nowhere near where it should be. So here are the jobs that are in demand and the industries. It's really no secret. You know, we know construction and healthcare are huge, and comparative, here we are now, we're still seeing construction trades at the top, and healthcare is still in there. Manufacturing is increased, so that's great. That's really positive news. Any questions to this point? I'm sorry, I haven't followed any chat. I see. Let's see.
Well, what I'd like to do, Mike, is have the person that has the question ask you the question. let's see, we could start with Debbie. I don't think, Debbie Fusen, do you want to ask your question? I don't think that one's been addressed. And then Lou had a follow-up corollary question.
My question was, have you seen a lot of people leaving the area to find work?
So that's a great question. Probably hard to distinguish that really when we're doing our follow-ups and our reemployment orientation meetings. That hasn't been a common theme that we've come across where people have, when people are scheduled for those. So when people are on unemployment, they get a letter that says you are required to meet with a Worksource specialist for a reemployment orientation meeting, and they can go in and schedule that appointment, or they can exempt themselves, and the exemption options are based on, I went back to work, this is where I went to work, or I've moved out of the area. And that has not been a common thing that we've seen with those individuals where they've exempted themselves due to moving out. Or have there been some? Yes, but nothing that I would say really out of the difference of what we've seen kind of in the past.
Yeah, I wouldn't see any kind of exodus. Like Brandino said, most of the communication we have with the those that we're calling in on through our reemployment eligibility assessments, those people are returning to work, and it's a very small portion right now that we're basically. And so at this next slide, that what we're doing is we're reintroducing the job seeker to the services. So although they're not required, based on the governor's and the state legislation about the job search waiver, but we're letting them know, hey, this isn't going to live, this isn't going to be forever. And when you go back to work, everybody's got to go back to work. And so right now it's really a job seekers market, and that's kind of some of the sticking points we're giving people. So there are a couple of questions here that I can. So yes, OESD 114. That's the Pathways to Success. That is our youth program at Worksource in the area for Clallam, Jefferson, and Kitsap.
So Kay Gagnon also had a question. Kay, do you want to ask your question?
Sure. I'm not real familiar with Worksource, but my question was your chart that talks about youth. Can you define what youth is? And I'm a little interested in what kind of high school, college students look jobs if this is a
yeah, so it's and so looks like Kimberly Hedrick, and I see OES. They may be from OESD, but the age is 16 to 24, and I'll just say they need to have a barrier to employment is the general when we're explaining this. But the reality, it could be homelessness, certainly unemployed. Maybe they did not attain their diploma and they want to get a GED. They could provide those services. They could be a college. They could be somebody who was in college and they're getting ready to graduate. There's a very specific background that needs to be, there's these touch points that they have to meet. So the best thing to do is, and Emily Manson's number and name is up there. That's someone who you want to connect with for youth. And I'll just, on a side note, we're going to have a youth job fair, virtual job fair. So and of course we're saying youth, it's really we're targeting young adults, between 18 to 24, to help fill your positions out there, and that'll be June 24th. So communicate with Brandino or follow us on Facebook or reach out to myself. And like I said, I'll have some some names and emails at the end, and we'll definitely get you on those mailing lists.
Hi, this is
back
Kimberly.
up a little. Okay.
This is Kimberly from ESD. I just sent to Colleen a poster or a little flyer that goes with the Pathways to Success program. So hopefully she can get that out to all of you on this call.
Great.
Perfect. Yeah,
We'll
thank you.
post that on our website along with the slides and the video.
Great.
That'll be on the Choose Clallam First website.
And then Rick asked a question,
Thank
which
you.
employers and job types seem to have success? And I would say all. I've not really seen any sort of trend that would say it's not good for one type of business or the other. Right now, because everything is, and the next question, this is virtual and it will be for all counties because the Pathways team serves all 3 counties. So we'll have employers from all, but I would say industries that right now in the virtual setting, industries that need workers who traditionally those workers may not have the technology background would be the ones that kind of struggle the most, because if you're not really great at navigating an online application or updating your resume or following through, just those real basic things, that could be it could be a challenge. But I don't want to blanket say that one type of worker over another, but those are just some basic things that we see.
I could go back and look at Lou had a follow-up question to Debbie's as far as incentivizing workers to come into the area, and it some of that goes back to what I was talking about earlier as far as some of the barrier and issues that we have here locally.
Hang on just
And
a second.
and the number one piece to that is just housing. If we're incentivizing workers, a lot of those to come into the area are more than likely are more skilled, higher wage kind of positions. And I know that that some of that incentivizing is going on, but when we're looking at, like in the swim area, I was just checking Zillow the other day. You're not finding a house for less than $400,000 in this area, and they're few and far between. And then trying to find rentals. I mean, the house down the hill from me is just not a very nice piece of property, with a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $2,200 a month. It's difficult. Housing is a huge issue that we have here for individuals trying to come into the area. I just met a couple that are both of them came from where I lived down in California, that are working at McKinley. They came as a team, husband and wife, and that was a huge struggle for them, was trying to find a place that to live. They were making a decent enough wage to be able to afford that. It's just finding one that met their needs.
So great point. This is an issue across the state. It's not that our community has more of an issue with housing or childcare. Actually, we're doing a lot better with childcare, believe it or not, than other areas of the state. We're not any longer considered the desert. Like some counties have just one childcare provider. It's incredible to me. But so our board chair, Michael McQuay, that owns Coyote Barbecue and Cocapelli Grill and has been looking for workers, has said he has a question and a comment. So Michael, do you want to ask?
Yeah, thanks, Colleen, and everybody can hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
All right. Thanks, Mike and Brandino, for coming in here. And just so you know, I've been using Worksource for probably 7, 8, maybe 9 years now. and it's hit and miss. I think, you know, put everything in a little bit of perspective. In a normal year, I go from around 40 employees to operate both restaurants and all the catering we do to well over 70. I think in 2019, we hit a high of 78. And I'll bet you I pull about 4 or 5 from Worksource, but it's usually some of the better people that I get through Worksource. This year I've gotten one person, and it was a person I really needed, and it was a local guy. It was a line cook. So, you know, you were kind of, Michael, you were kind of talking about some of the other resources that people use. I started using Facebook about 3 years ago for my job postings. Very hit and miss, much worse than Worksource. A lot of unsophisticated people that don't even know how to fill out a resume and that kind of thing. Historically, Craigslist, believe it or not, has been our best venue for finding skilled workers. I know that there's a lot of confusion. I hear it from Washington, D.C. about people working and why they're not working. I can personally tell you from talking to some employees, and I'm not talking about the people I've successfully called back to work a few months ago. I'm talking about people that I reached out to that had worked for me maybe a year and a half, 2, 3 years ago, that kind of thing. And, you know, I've more than once, I've been laughed at to my face that why would I come back to work? And put this in perspective, I'm paying now my qualified line cooks. I mean, starting, you're going to make $18 to $21 an hour. And I'm offering a $2,000 sign-in bonus, $2,000. And I've been doing that for 2.5 months, and I've gotten that many. I'm not even a sniff, right? And it's on my listing in Worksource too. I have one of my top guys that can't come back to work full time because of childcare. They've got a brand new baby. She's got to work, and so he's working 3 or 4 days a week instead of full time. So I know childcare is a part of it, but from my perspective, I can tell you that most of it is people don't want to give up sitting on their couch playing video games and getting free money from the government. And that's why you're seeing a lot of these states across the country clawing that back or using it as an incentive for people to go back to work. I've never seen anything like this. Anyway, I suggest everybody use Worksource. It's a great tool. Once you fill in your profile and your jobs, I mean, you don't even really have to scan through all the resumes. They start coming at you, the people that are qualified. And I have had some good luck with it, especially in the past. This year is just really tough. And I think for me, I'm only going to be doing this and having these offers out here for a very short period of time. I can't really go much into June and try to hire 30 people and open both my restaurants from 5 to 7 days a week. There would be no time to train. So we're kind of already just going up. It is what it is. We're gonna finish the year and come out swinging next year. But that's really all my comments. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks,
So-
Michael.
Edward
if I-
also had a question or a comment as well.
Colleen,
Yeah.
could I just maybe jump in real quick and
Please.
somewhat address a little bit too, Michael? First of all, thanks for the support, and yes, we've worked together for years on this. And one of the factors that I don't know that we've specifically talked about as well is, and it's one of the struggles that we have, is we're not physically open. So we're all working from a virtual aspect as well. So we don't have that that direct personal contact to the job seekers that come through the door like we normally would. Right now, people they call our office, we call them back, and and a majority of the questions that we're getting are all more unemployment. Hey, I've been filing for 3 weeks and I haven't gotten anything. What do I do? We've just recently, as of April, is when we started. Actually, March was when it originally began. Started doing our reemployment orientations, and we started that slowly. So now we're at having to meet 100% of our goal for a month. But just that those required meetings didn't start happening until just 2 months ago for job seekers to come hit us. So even for us, our touch and connection to the job seekers has been extremely limited until more recently. And then the new piece to this is, currently right now we're all we're having discussions about what does our reopen plan look like. We don't have a full description of that yet, but that discussion is happening more and more as the days go by. And we're looking at a point upcoming. Now it probably will just be appointment based only. We don't know completely yet. More to come probably by the end of this month. But as we get closer to that, we'll be able to go back to kind of where Michael was talking about, where we have a better, closer relationship with the job seekers. People are coming in, we're actually physically seeing them, and we'll be able to, oh, wait a minute, you're a line cook? We need a line cook. Michael needs a line cook. Let's connect you right now. Those are the things that we don't have that are that's our day-to-day work.
Thanks, Brandino. So also you guys are going to be moving your office soon, right? You're in Port Angeles. Is there any new updates on that?
Yeah, so we just actually had a meeting Friday with with our facilities people and the contractor. So we have a site in Sequim that we'll be moving to. And as some may not know, we closed our Port Townsend office right as the pandemic hit last year. We couldn't find location over there to meet our needs. So looking at Sequim, which is, maybe a little more centrally located, so we can kind of work both of those counties. And, the ground is broken and we'll start seeing some activity going on over there. It's kind of at the off of Brackett, where Brackett meets Washington, behind kind of the Dairy Queen. There's a little piece of property there, and you'll see some work going on there. And we should, if things go as planned, be open sometime towards the end of this year, have that facility up and running. So it'll be a brand new facility, more modernized. We'll have better technology and everything available there.
Great, good. So we had a comment/question from Edward, and then also next Kay had, I think, a follow-up. Edward or Kay? Go ahead, Kay. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay.
No follow-up, thanks.
Go ahead, Kay.
I have no follow-up question. Thanks.
Oh, okay. All right. And Edward?
Are you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
So that was me. I had a prior employee I reached out to, same problem, who kind of laughed at me and said, no, why would I do that? I'm home on fun employment. He's legit home staying home playing video games, able to make more money than he did working for me with all the reimbursements he's getting from the government, and then also tax season. So from his perspective, he's living the life. But I echo everything that Michael said. I've had limited success on Worksource, and Facebook is full of a bunch of people who are very rude and unsophisticated, and so limited success there. And it's tough right now. I have healthcare workers who can't find housing, even nurses who make a decent wage, limited availability. And I have CNAs who are staying home because they have no daycare. Same problem for them. They can't hire caregivers for daycare. So it's pretty tough right now.
right? And that's impacting traveling nurses as well, especially those that come from out of state, because whatever they're experiencing here, they're experiencing in their home of residence as well. And there are
Right.
some other phenomena that are going on in this, and not to, I mean, what you're all saying is legitimate. We get it and we understand. There are the other factors we've not even discussed, and those are the ones that are probably the most challenging. Those who have not dealt with the isolation from the onset, and they may have developed further barriers in being isolated. The lack of resources, the lack of connectivity with people in general, not just work, just the whole social piece. There's a lot of great articles out there that you can read, just mental health and anxiety from all ages, right? From our youth and through adults. You've got baby boomers that, they've been hanging out saying, maybe it's time I start retire. Maybe I take retirement serious now. I'm in a good place. The economy's been good for the last several years. So they're making that leap to retirement because, they frankly don't see, COVID as the reason to stay in the workforce. That is impacting the skilled worker shortage. We had, nationally, we had a skilled worker shortage before this even hit. So, I mean, we had a good economy. A year ago, it was, 5.4, 5.8, and, still not able to fill all our skilled worker positions. Brandino mentioned McKinley. We've had openings there for quite some time. So the difficulty in some of those barriers, substance abuse for one, there are people that are just struggling. Those are things that are holding people back legitimately as well, because they're not ready to go back to work. And those that struggle with mental health and substance abuse issues, those that get the help and they connect with us, we certainly help those folks. I would say if somebody is really anxious into getting back to work and they do have a struggle of some sort, to contact us directly, because there could be services that we're able to offer, or we have a network of resources that we can connect with those folks. Daycare is something that we could potentially help a participant with. But I would like to just touch on briefly some of the things that we're doing. And one of the things that we're reintroducing our staff to the labor market. Our staff have been quite disconnected because they've been doing a lot of different work, as you can imagine, over the past year. Our staff are generally not unemployment specialists. They are reemployment specialists. So, part of ESD's solution to the huge influx of unemployment we've seen a year ago, our staff literally went through the training and technology to be able to support that and go and do some of that work. And now we have them back, and we've had Colleen and Brian here. I see Brian Coos on from Jefferson EDC. We had the Kitsap EDC on so that we could hear, what LMI, what labor market changes are we seeing, and this is another good reason to be reaching out to us as well, as to tell us what your shifts are, and we can also help with some of the data. I'm real skeptical as far as bonuses and increasing wages. But I get it. You need the people, you got to have the carrot, but I'm really feeling optimistic that in a month or two from now, we will hopefully see a shift where more and more people are applying for those jobs. And, rather than tying yourself into those fiscal restraints, I think, holding out. But, you got to fill your, it's a balance. You got to fill those positions. So another thing we're doing, and somebody I see, and I'd mentioned, we're doing our virtual hiring events and virtual job fairs. Those are spotty right now, basically for the same reason that you're saying and what we're discussing. Why do we need to? But what I'll say is with the virtual events, they are painless. They're not, they don't take a whole lot of work. And in many cases, you can do your daily, your regular work and participate in one of these events. Doing a specific hiring event. So, that is we just do it for that particular employer, and we use a platform like Zoom or WebEx, and we can advertise that you're going to do a hiring event with us and that you'd be on there to talk to the participants that are interested, and in hopes that we can get some recruitment out of there. We do hot jobs. So that's where we take your jobs. So it's great that you're posting it on Worksource WA, but when we know specifically that an employer's having difficulty, then we share those details with our staff so that they know that there's positions out there that really are hiring, and a lot of times the people that we're calling in are actually exactly who you're looking for. So that's a big thing. Another thing that, and I don't have it on here, but it's that people again are trying to reinvent themselves. We've seen this big time in the recession where people were laid off. I mean, we're talking human resource staff were laid off because it was like, do I keep my productivity or do I let my HR go? And so people during the recession had to reinvent themselves. We've seen people that had bachelor's degrees and skilled certifications get laid off. We're not seeing that right now, but what we are seeing is the unskilled labor make a shift. They are reevaluating where they're at, and let's put this into perspective. 2008 to 2021, that's a good chunk of time for people that they may have been in one industry and they've done that industry their whole life, but now they're reevaluating, going, maybe it's time I change. And I see Brian is on from PC. He may have some perspective on that. And what else? And as Brandino talked about the call-ins, that's a big factor. And then I'll just say we've partnered with our central office folks in ESD. We're doing a program on June 8th and 9th. That is for our WDA, that's Workforce Development Area. That's the Clallam, Jefferson, Kitsap area. And so this is for businesses to come on, and we'll talk about some of the incentives, the shared work. We'll be on there. We'll have our WDC on there. So we'll have a lot of people on this platform for you to ask your questions. And we'll make sure that gets shared. We'll certainly get it to Colleen. And that's another thing that we've been doing. Everything that we're doing with the community, we're getting it out there. So I see there's some chamber members. We're sharing our information with where it needs to go in the community so that we can get that out there. And we're just, that's sort of what we're seeing as a best practice.
So Michael, it's just after 9 o'clock, but I do want to confirm, when will the majority of the unemployment benefits, both federal and then state level, be running out for those folks that were generally laid off this time last year? When, I believe it's September 30th for the federal, is that right?
The federal, that's the law behind the federal unemployment will hit then, correct? Mm-hmm. Statewide, that's state legislature, and that is to be determined. They reassess that. You know, we don't, I wish we knew that. That'd be like we know there's where the end in sight is with that, but right now we don't have any information.
I thought that was already established how long that went. So it again,
What
it
we
is
don't
after
know is
9.
if
I
it
see.
gets brought up again. It's all going to depend on, how we're doing with COVID, honestly.
Okay. So Edward had one last thought/question. So I'll let Edward ask that and then we'll call it a morning.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So I like the idea of an employer-specific event for hiring, and I can represent 2 nursing homes here in Clallam and 2 also in Kitsap. So it could really be worth your while to do that as for us as an employer. Who's my best contact for that?
Well, I've got the slides up here. Any one of us can get you started with that, but and that link on Worksource wall you can always communicate through as well. But Brandino is in the same, he'd say the same thing. Any one of us on this slide can get you set up with that.
So if we're no longer sharing the screen. So if Brandino and Michael, if you'll put your email in the chat for folks, they can contact you that way. So
sorry about that. I didn't realize the screen stopped sharing.
yeah, there you go. So there's some contact information for all of you. And again, we are past 9 o'clock, so I am going to call it a morning.